feeling lucky.
The objective of this lesson is to be able to create physical models, draw representations, and apply the measurement interpretation to problems involving division of fractions in word problems. Students will be able to describe the meaning of each component of a fraction division word problem within a physical or drawn model. Let's introduce some vocabulary before we get started. Measurement interpretation is a form of division where the size of each group is known, but the number of shares or groups is not. Dividend divided by divisor equals quotient. 3/4 divided by unit lengths equals 1/2. Ask, how many this are in that? The common denominator algorithm is a useful strategy for dividing fractions. In the problem 8 divided by 2, the question is, how many 2's are in 8? It is the same with fractions. In the problem 8/3 divided by 2/3, the question is, how many 2/3 are in 8/3? In both cases, the answer is 4. When the divisor and the dividend have the same denominator, we are working with the same size pieces, so the size of the pieces is not important. Let's look at a problem where we know how much is in each group, but we don't know how many groups there are. Jeremy has 4 jars of spaghetti sauce. Each 1/2 jar is a serving. How many servings does Jeremy have? So the question is, how many 1/2s are in 4 wholes? The dividend is 4, the divisor is 1/2, and we need to find the quotient. Partition each jar into 2 halves, then count the halves. There are 8 1/2s in 4 whole jars, so we can see Jeremy has 8 servings. We can use the common denominator algorithm to write the equation 8/2 divided by 1/2 equals 8. We'll look at a similar problem and solve it by modeling with Cuisenaire rods. Jeremy has 6 jars of spaghetti sauce. Each 1/3 jar is a serving. How many servings does Jeremy have? Let's choose a blue to represent each jar. Since 3 light green rods are the same length as 1 blue rod, we'll use the light green to represent 1/3 of the jar. How many light green rods will it take to make 6 blue rods? 6 times 3 equals 18. There are 18 1/3 or 18 servings in 6 jars. So in this case, Jeremy has 18 servings. We could use other colors to represent a full jar and 1/3 of a jar, as long as the whole has a length equal to 3 of another rod. A dark green rod equals 3 red rods. So 6 dark green rods equals 18 red rods. Or a light green rod equals 3 white rods, so 6 green rods equals 18 whites. When we used a different color, why did we end up with the same answer? Because 3 1/3s will always equal 1 whole, so 6 wholes will always equal 18 1/3s. Could we use the same strategies to solve the problem if the serving size was 2/3 instead of a unit fraction? Let's try it. Jeremy has 6 jars of spaghetti sauce. Each 2/3 of a jar is a serving. How many servings does Jeremy have? Let's use a light green rod to represent a whole jar and white cubes to represent 1/3 of the jar. We can see that each white cube equals 1/3, but we want to find out what represents 2/3. The red rod is the same length as 2 whites, so we can use the red rod to represent 2/3. Now how many red rods equal 6 light greens? Yes, there are 9 reds. So our answer is Jeremy has 9 2/3 servings. We can use the common denominator algorithm to write the equation 18/3 divided by 2/3 equals 9. The solution can also be represented on a number line. Draw a number line that goes from 0 to 6. Partition each section into 3 parts. Each mark represents 1/3, so 2 of the marks will represent 2/3. Count to find out how many 2/3s are in 6. Or we could have multiplied 6 times 3 equals 18, which represents how many 1/3s are in 6. Then divide that answer by 2 because we are looking for 2/3. So it would be 18 divided by 2 equals 9. Same answer. Jeremy has 9 servings. The objective in this lesson was to be able to create physical models, draw representations, and apply the measurement interpretation to problems involving division of fractions in word problems. We met this objective by representing the problem with Cuisenaire rods, number lines, and drawings. It's important to let students explain their work to you to make clear their understanding and reveal any mistakes in their thinking.